Hi, thank you. My name is Grant, and I'm from Washington. Since your revelations, The Guardian has created a .onion secure drop to make it simpler for future whistleblowers to submit documents and protect their anonymity. Of course, this eases the ease of becoming a whistleblower, but do you think this actually is even useful at all, considering the witch hunts that you spoke of?
I do, because it's different from case to case. It depends on what people are trying to reveal. Not every whistleblowing case is about the National Security Agency, where they're going to have drones hunting for people. Some of them are about waste, fraud, and abuse in governmental agencies, within corporations, abuses of individual and private rights. And all of these things have a role. And even in the context of the highest security settings, I wish Secure Drop had existed when I was going through this procedure. I actually had to go through this and sort of build it as I went along. Fortunately, I worked for the National Security Agency with mass surveillance tools, working against basically people who were doing computer network attack and exploitation and whatnot. So I knew the extent of the capabilities, and I was in a little bit of a privileged position. But I think what these tools are indicating is that we're beginning to reach a point where we can make it a little bit safer, a little bit more secure, and really robustly enable the kind of quality of government that we want to enjoy.
I want to ask you a question. It's kind of personal, and if you don't want to answer, it's fine. I wonder, because you were in part of this system, you worked alongside lots of people. It sounds like some of the people you worked alongside you deeply respected, some you didn't so much. I mean, how divided is that community about this stuff? I mean, how...
It's actually... the only difference, I would say, between people working at the NSA and, a broad swath of American society is the fact that people within the intelligence community are sort of self-selected to, A, want to be a little bit sneaky, because, who else signs up to work at a state security bureau, basically. But then secondly, they're also pretty boring in terms of their background and their political views and things like that, because they have to make it through a polygraph, right? I mean, this is how the vetting works. One of the questions, for example, is, have you ever advocated the violent overthrow of the U.S. government? And a lot of people from Berkeley wouldn't make it past that question.
But Stanford students would. But our Stanford students
I actually
would.
love Berkeley, so I want to say that. But just to follow up on that, you do see all sides of the spectrum, though, because this is one of the things that you can't screen for over time in a career is ideology. As you said, when I joined up, I could not imagine a universe in which, the administration of George Bush, Dick Cheney, these people would actually lie us into a war on the basis of false intelligence, because it seemed like, why? We will lose so much and gain so little. And not only will this be bad eventually in the fullness of history for the reputations of these officials, but for the legitimacy of government itself. When it goes too far, people begin to stop valuing government. And this seems like the last thing that people who, basically direct the government should want. But over time, my thinking has obviously developed in many ways. And that's the same thing for my colleagues. I saw people who, when I showed them the map, a boundless informant, you guys can look it up online, the slides are out there, that showed, for example, the NSA was collecting more information on more information on American communications than they were on Russian communications. These people basically fell out of their chairs because they go, what is this about? This is not how it's supposed to work. Why are we watching us more carefully than we're watching them? But at the same time, there are also people who will, when you talk about Guantanamo or rendition and things like that, they say, we shouldn't have Guantanamo open at all, because when we're flying them across the ocean, we should just kick them out the door. Basic concepts like due process, in some contexts, are not seen as valuable to particular individuals, because the way it works when you're working at the CIA or NSA, the mindset is that you are there to break laws in many ways. You are good people doing bad things for good reasons. It's very difficult to get people on a broad scale to agree that, yes, even in intelligence work, there are some lines that should not be crossed, particularly when they're the constitutional foundation of our government.